Welcome back to Bully Ball. It is draft day and we are excited. Well, it's draft day for you guys. Draft day don't start for me until tomorrow, unfortunately, and I have work. So that's unfortunate, but it's still draft day. We're excited and we're bringing you guys Bully Ball, my guys team. So Alex is going to give his offense on one team. I'm going to give my defense. We'll see how they stack up, and then he will give his defense and I'll give my offense. So the rules are you can have one first round pick on each side of the ball. So let that be a wise choice for you. You can sub one position for a different position. Say you don't want a third linebacker and you want the star position, or say you want um, a nickel instead of a third linebacker, whatever. You could do that. Same thing on offense. You want two tight ends, take a receiver away, whatever. And then the last thing is you can have one fringe first round to second round player, which is pretty much the 49ers position, right? So it could be the guy you think they're going to pick. It could be your guy in that range, whatever you want to do. So let's kick this off. You go ahead and give me your first offensive player.
All right. So Joseph has done a lot more research into the draft than I have lately. So let's just preface it with that. My defensive team is definitely going to be incomplete. But to start off my offense, I'm going to go with Michael Pratt out of Tulane. This guy's a winner. He's brought back Tulane into not a powerhouse, but a force to be reckoned with. They beat USC in a bowl game a couple years ago, and they've been pretty successful with his time at quarterback. Last year, he was the first-team All-American in the athletic conference that they play in, obviously. He was the Offensive Player of the Year for that conference as well. He had 2,406 passing yards, 22 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions to go along with 286 rushing yards and 5 rushing touchdowns. He set the school career record with 9,603 career passing yards. So that's obviously, that's great. Last 2 years he started, so 2023 to 2022 as well, he started, had 3,000 yards in 2022, 27 touchdowns, 5 picks, so great touchdown to pick ratio. And then in 2022, he also had 478 rushing yards and 10 touchdowns rushing. I've seen a lot of people compare him to somebody like Purdy, Brock Purdy. Pretty accurate, maybe not the best arm, but can hit all throws. And he's actually pretty mobile as well, so he can work around the pocket, pick up some yardage with his feet. So that'll be my quarterback to start us off.
Yeah, really good player. I thought about having him on my team as well, actually. I was watching that USC Tulane game, and it was a battle back and forth, and they pulled it out in the end over Heisman winning Caleb Williams that year.
Yep.
And yeah, that was a really good team. My first player is going to be Jonah Ellis. He is an edge rusher from Utah. Let me add him to the board. So he is kind of an undersized guy. He's probably more suited for a 3-4, like outside linebacker role. But the dude can rush the passer. He's 6'2", 248 at the combine, 33-inch arm, so good arm length. And he didn't do the agilities at the combine, and I'm not sure if he did at his pro day because he had an injury. But the dude comes from a football family. His dad was an All-American D lineman at Utah, played in the NFL for 10 years. His brother, Caden, played linebacker for the Falcons. His other brother played for the Eagles and Patriots. And then his other brother is a D lineman for the Eagles. So pretty much the whole family played in the NFL or in college at some level. He ranked 6th in the FBS this past year with 12 sacks. And this dude, he won a ton of awards. including being a finalist for the Polynesian College Football Player of the Year. But the dude just has a ton of pass rushing moves in his bag. Like, if you go watch some tape, he has a crazy spin move that he used, but he has a good hand swipe, a good chop. Like, this dude can just get to the passer. So, he lacks a little bit of size against the run. So if you try to run the ball on my team, that's going to be a weakness with this dude, but we're going to get after the passer.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll go on to my next position. I'm gonna go running back. And my running back, I was going between two guys, Jonathan Brooks from Texas or Bucky Irving from Oregon, and I'm gonna go with Bucky Irving. He's a smaller guy for sure. He's not the biggest back, but he's very versatile. He was the 85th percentile of receiving yards per game for running backs last year. So that's great to see, especially for the Niners, or I mean any team really. You love to have those backs that can catch the ball out of the outfield. It's just another threat. And he also had 69 forced missed tackles last year, and that's pretty crazy for given his height and weight. So he is, let me see here. Like I said, he's not the tallest guy out there for sure. 5'9", 192. So definitely a smaller running back. He ran 4.55 40-yard dash. Obviously not the fastest, but he's extremely agile. He's not afraid of contact. Like I said, he had 69 missed tackles. An NFL comparison for him was Damian Pierce. I also heard another one, Devin Singletary. And Devin Singletary had a great year last year with the Texans. So, like I said, very versatile, looks for contact, can catch the ball out of the outfield. He's not going to be like a full-time starting back, but probably a good complementary back to a team that already has a solid running back to start. But yeah, that's going to be my running back, Bucky Irving from Oregon.
Yeah, a dude that, at the combine, I thought he was going to run fast, like super fast, because you watch the film, and this dude is elusive as hell. Like, nobody could tackle him. So the measurables weren't great, but neither were Kyron Williams, and that dude's, you saw what he did last year in the NFL. So I like that. Good pick. Good pick. For my next guy, I'll finish up my edge rushers. And this was hard because, you have the couple guys up top in this draft, and then you have a bunch of guys in the middle. And I feel like it's kind of an underrated group. So I had a difficult time choosing these two guys. But it's obviously the guy I spoke about before already. It's Mo Kamara from Colorado State. He was the Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year. Let me pull up his measurables real quick. Mo Kamara. All right. So he's an undersized guy. He's 6'1", 248 pounds. So he has good weight for the height, 32-inch arms. But the thing is this dude is explosive. He may be undersized, but the dude ran a 4.57 40-yard dash at, what did I say, almost 250 pounds. 1.58 10-yard split, and a 34.5-inch vert, 10.3 broad, and he put up 23 bench reps. So the dude is crazy explosive. Like I said, Mountain West Defensive Player of the Year. He led the team with 17 tackles for loss and tied for third in sacks in all of FBS with 13. And this dude just gets after the quarterback again. Like, this team, if you run the ball at the edge on us, you're going to destroy us. But if you are dropping back to pass, we're going to get after you. And this dude, really, really want this dude on the 49ers. Just, he gives me D Ford vibes off the edge.
Yeah, definitely. You've been all about Mo Kamara since the end of the college football season, so it's definitely somebody I hope we can get our hands on for sure. So then we'll go into my next position. We'll go to receiver. My first receiver that's my guy is gonna be Javon Baker out of UCF. This guy arguably is one of the best route runners in all of college football last year. Hold on. Um, he is 6'1", 202, so kinda a little bit skinnier, but not bad. He was a senior, so he's an older runners love older prospects. He ran a 4.54 40 and a 37-inch vert. So, that's great. He played at Alabama his first 2 years, didn't really do much, was a backup, had like, for example, 2020, he had 15 receiving yards, and then 2021, he had 101 receiving yards for the whole season. And then 2022, he transferred to, UCF, had 796 yards, and then last year, his best year, he had 1,100 receiving yards, 7 touchdowns, and he played in all 13 games. Um, like I said, where he wins is his route running. I love receivers that can win with their route running, something similar to Brandon Ayuk, you know what I mean? Just perfectly crisp routes. Um, and he has good size, 6'1", that's a pretty good size. He can go up and get the ball. Um, and yeah, he's just all around, he's a great receiver. Somebody that I think has been climbing up a lot of people's boards, and he can take the top off of a defense as well. He's not the fastest guy, but he could take the top off a defense if he needs to. You get that one-on-one man coverage, he's gonna win with his routes more times than not. So, Javon Baker is my receiver.
Yeah, another really good player. I think the 49ers brought him in, right, for a 30? Hello? You're muted. Shoot, we might have lost him.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Alright. What are you saying?
I said I think the 49ers brought him in for a 30 visit, correct?
Yep, we had him in for 30.
Yeah, so yeah, definitely someone they're looking at. And last year I saw something that the 49ers drafted or signed 4 people that they brought in for 30. So it's a good chance.
Yep,
All,
definitely.
all right. My next guy, we're going to go to one of our D tackles on our interior of the D line, and we're going with Mekhi Wingo. And man, like I said, you want to run the ball on us, you might go for 400, 500 yards. But this dude, Mekhi Wingo, he's 6 foot, 284 pounds. So he's a little light. He's definitely short. But this dude he might be the most explosive interior D tackle. We think it's Braden Fisk. This dude might be more explosive on the interior of the D line. He ran a 4.85 at that weight, a 1.64 10-yard split, and he put up 25 bench reps. But the dude was a third-team All-American in 2022. He had 6 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, 4 PBUs. And then in 2023, he played in 8 games and he had 4.5 sacks, but then he was battling with an injury and had to have surgery. It was season-ending surgery, but he was healthy enough in return to play in the bowl game. So that shows that the dude's, a team player. He wants to be out there with his team. But you could turn on some clips of this dude, and the get off is just insane. The dude's in the backfield immediately. And even though he's undersized, he was, I believe, the 3rd best run defender according to PFF in college last year, somewhere around there. So despite being small, dude's still a good run defender as well.
Yeah, definitely. If our offense is going to go up against your defense, I think my team's going to win because my team I can run the ball. I will tell you that much. Um, but going on to our next receiver, well, my next receiver, somebody who Niner fans have been huge on throughout the whole draft, for, good reason, but it's gonna be Malachi Corley, from Western Kentucky. This guy is one of those players that is commonly mocked to Debo Samuel. So he has that like great yak ability. Looks like a running back, 5'11", 215. So not extremely tall or anything. Um, Last year he was first team all conference USA, had 79 receptions, 894 receiving yards, and 11 receiving touchdowns. He set the career score record with 259 career receptions. Like I said, Lance Zierlein has his NFL comparison to Debo Samuel. Um, yeah, and he's one of those guys you can throw on a slant and can take it the distance, just like Debo. So that's what's kind of huge here is just getting another guy with that yak. The 49ers love receivers who have that yards after catch. That's a huge for us. That's where Brock thrives in those intermediate to mid-level throws. And this is a stat from PFF over the yards per route run versus man coverage since 2022. And Malachi Corley is leading that statistic over guys like Marvin Harrison Jr., Rome Odunze, Malik Neighbors, all those guys. Malachi Corley is leading that in yards per route run versus man coverage, and defenses are kind of transitioning more into some more man coverage and things like that. So Malachi Corley is a guy that can beat that, as well as Javon Baker with his route running. So that's going to be my second receiver.
Yeah, really good. You got some really good receivers on that team. I'll give you that. All right, my next guy, finishing up our interior of the D line. And I had to get some size in there. So we went with Tavondre Sweat, the big man out of Texas. And yes, I know he did some dumb shit. We all know what he did. Shouldn't have done that. But for football's sake and for the 49ers' sake, as long as it was a one-time mistake and he's going to be cleaned up and not do it again. The dude is 6'4" and a half, 366 pounds with 33 and a fourth inch arms. And he ran a 5.27 40, but that don't matter. This dude is the best run defender in the draft. And he's not bad in passing situations. He's not going to get after the quarterback really, but he gets his hands up and he gets push in the pocket. So this past year he won the Outland Trophy for the nation's top interior O-line or D lineman, first team All-American, Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year. He had 45 tackles, 8 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, 4 PBUs, and 1 block kick. And this is a dude the 49ers specifically have been sorely lacking. And this is just a dude that on any team in the NFL, he immediately has a role stuffing the run. So that's my guy to, bring up our run defense a little bit on this squad.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely a guy that, like you said, we can probably see maybe fall a little bit in the draft because of that incident that he had. So definitely somebody to keep your eye on. To finish out my receivers, I'm going to go with another popular player. This is like a fringe guy. I mean, he's going to go round 2, but he's somewhat close to round 1, but he's not my round 1 guy. It's going to be Xavier Legette out of South Carolina. And for reference, all of these 3 receivers that I have on here have all been brought in by the 49ers for a top 30 visit. So that's a little fun fact. But looking at Xavier Legette's stats over the last couple years, like I said, he obviously Carolina. Second team all SEC last year. He led the team with 71 receptions and 7 receiving touchdowns, and he ranked 8th in all of college football with 1,255 receiving yards, which gives him a 17.7 yard per average for the catches. You know, he's kind of tight-hipped, they say, linear release so he can get pressed and stuff. His route running's not the best, but when you throw that ball up, he has a big body and he can go and get that ball. He's 6'1", 220. So he's going to go up and get that ball, and he's going to win those contested catches more times than not. So that's a great thing. And, and he played against some of the best corners in all of football, obviously playing in the SEC. He's good with the ball in his hands as well, and his run blocking is pretty great too. So that's something, that the Niners and a lot of teams in general love. A player comparison for him are saying A.J. Brown. It seems like A.J. Brown is always getting a player compared to him in every draft for some reason, but that's one of the top receivers. And like I said, he had a top 30 visit with the Niners. Highly doubt we get him because I'm pretty sure he's probably going to go to the Panthers at pick, I think 33 in the second round. So, but one of my favorite players nonetheless.
So that's your fringe guy.
Yeah. It's not my absolute first round, but yeah, fringe.
All right, I like it. Good group of receivers you got there. I'll go with my first linebacker. It's going to be Jalen Ford from Texas. Now, I don't know where this dude gets drafted. They're saying, on NFL.com, on the combine place, it says 5th or 6th round. But the dude is 6'2", 240. And he does not have combine results, just a vert and a broad jump. So I don't know if he might have been nicked up or something prior to that. But this dude, you turn on the tape, and this dude is explosive. Like he gives off Dre Greenlaw explosive vibes. When the quarterback's rolling out of the pocket and you see the guy just like a missile, like Dre Greenlaw, he does the same type of thing. And this dude is great in coverage. So in 2022, third team All-American, had 119 tackles, 4 interceptions, and 3 forced fumbles. This past year, he had 101 tackles, 10.5 for loss, and he had 2 PBUs. But this dude, he gets in passing lanes. He's really good in zone. So he really fits what the 49ers like to do with their linebackers. And this dude just is explosive. He needs to work on his anticipation and his reads. But if you just put him on the field and tell him to go, he's going to go.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely one of those top guys. Like you said, anybody would love to get their hands on a Dre Greenlaw type player. So that's definitely somebody to watch for. To finish out, before I get into my O-line, I'll go with my tight end there, and I'm going to go with my guy, Tip Raymond. Obviously, like we said, talked about him in a couple episodes back, maybe, or an episode back about him. Great run blocker. Dude is a savage at run blocking. And he didn't have much receiving statistics in college, but I just think it was because he wasn't given the opportunity. I think if he was given the opportunity, especially behind somebody like George Kittle, learning from somebody like George, who was in the same boat, not much receiving statistics in college at Iowa. But once he was finally given that opportunity, he showed out. So I think Tip Raymond can do that if he was given that opportunity in the league. But like I said, he already has one of the best he is the best run blocker out of all the tight ends in the draft this year. He ran a 4.64 40-yard dash, so not the fastest, but still up there pretty good. You know what I mean? According to the NFL.com, his athleticism score was first out of all tight ends. So like I said, 4.64, 40-yard dash, 1.55, 10-yard split. He had 28 bench press reps, which is impressive because there's O linemen that are putting up 30 or like 25, so he put up 28 bench press reps. And he just needs to work on that receiving ability a little bit. For example, last year he only had 203 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns. And then the year before that, he had 174 receiving yards and a touchdown. But he's going to come in. He's going to be a great run blocker for you, which the 49ers love and have been looking for that. And then I think if you actually give him the ability to go out and catch some balls, I think he'll be able to do that as well. So that's my guy right there, Tip Raymond.
Yeah, I really like Tip Raymond. Seems like a, underrated guy. And I think he was it the East West Shrine Bowl?
Yeah.
And he got to show off a little bit there. Yeah,
Yep.
really good player. So my next guy I'll finish up my linebackers, and it's going to be Jamal Hill. This is a guy the 49ers brought in, and he's not Fred Warner, but he's that same mold. He was a safety in college and they got converted him to linebacker. So he wasn't at the combine, so I don't have his exact height and weight, but I know he's like in the 220-pound range, 225 probably. So undersized for an inside linebacker, but in that same mold that Fred Warner was coming out. And at his pro day, he ran a 4.41 40. So for a linebacker, super fast, but for a safety, that's about what you would like. Super explosive, 10-1 broad. And you put on the film, this dude's still learning the position, but the dude looks like he has those natural instincts to play linebacker. And obviously, as a safety, very, very good in coverage. High end ability and coverage at linebacker because he played defensive back. So my two linebackers, tons of interceptions between them. You could see what my defense is built towards on this team.
Yeah, that's insane. 4.40 for a linebacker is pretty crazy. So going into my first lineman that I'll be talking about, I think this is somebody who the Niners could get, preferably off of a trade back. So you do have to trade back in the second round. But I would say Patrick Paul out of Houston. I talked about him previously in another episode as well. He's a bigger guy. He's 6'7.5", 331. So, pretty big guy, but he's fast. He ran a 5.13 40. That's pretty fast for that size right there. Like I said about Tip Raymond and his bench press, so Patrick Paul had 30 bench press reps. Tip Raymond had 28, I think. So that shows you how strong Tip Raymond is. He was a first-team All-American Athletic Conference last year. Well, actually, all 3 of his past years, he's been first-team All-American Athletic Conference. Started all 3 seasons at left tackle. He was team captain the last 2 seasons. His brother played at Tulsa, got selected by the Commanders. The thing with Patrick Paul, why I would say you need to trade back into the second round, is he's not the best run blocker. He needs to work on his run blocking. He needs to get a little bit more aggression in there. But pass blocking wise, he's great. His pass blocking is levels ahead of his run blocking. So you'd have to be a little graceful with him, give him some time to get better on that. But he has the size and the athletic ability to be a dominant force run blocking. He just needs to, he needs some coaching. He's still kind of raw with that for sure. And I think that'd be a great matchup for me going against your guys, Mo Kamara, Jonah Ellis. Those are pass rushing specialists. So I think my guy Patrick Paul could put a little stonewall on him and keep him out. So
Is
that's
he
my
your left or right tackle?
he started all games at left, so we'll just leave him left.
Left.
Yeah.
Is that your first round pick?
No, that's
He's getting
I mean,
first round buzz.
but who knows where? We were saying first, second, third. You never like who knows? I think
Yeah.
realistically second would be more. I think that's more real. He said he was going
You're
first
cheating
round.
a little bit here, but
No,
I'll
not
give it to
easy.
you. You're cheating a little bit, but I'll give it to you. All right. My next guy, I'll go with my first corner. I went with really underrated corners, guys that are probably going to go, in the 5th to 7th round range, but just some guys I wanted to get some, get their names out there a little bit on this so people know. But my first guy is Kamal Haddon, corner from Tennessee. He's a senior, 6'1", 196. He ran did he run at the combine? He did not run at the combine. Oh, he missed. So this past year, well, you got to go back. He was a community college player his first 2 years out of high school. And then he transferred to Tennessee. He didn't really play his first year. And then last year, he tied for the team lead with 2 interceptions, had 3 PBUs. He only had 6 starts. And then this past year, as a full-time starter, finally, he led the team with 8 PBUs, tied for the team lead with 3 interceptions. 1 was a pick six. And he started the first 7 games, but then he missed the rest of the year with a shoulder injury. So it was looking like he was going to be one of the top corners this year in college football, but then he got injured. So that's why I say he's kind of like a later round guy. You don't really know what you're going to get, but it looked like he was going to be really good this year. So on NFL.com, they say probably around round 6, but they also say he's a big cover corner with athletic talent and skill set that you can employ in a variety of coverages. He can play in man, he can play in zone, and the dude is sticky in coverage. Kind of gives you like Emmanuel Mosley vibes coming out of Tennessee as well. Late round guy, no one's talking about him, comes out and ends up being a really good corner in the NFL. So that's my guy, Kamal Haddon.
Yeah, solid for sure. Going on to my right tackle, it's gonna be my guy. Also, another guy I talked about a couple pods ago, Kieran Amagadije out of Yale. Um, I think one of the more underrated guys in the draft for sure. Super athletic. So his measurables are 6'5", 323, so good size there. And he ran a 5.10 40, so another guy with great athletic ability for his size. Let's see here. So obviously the issue here, he didn't play against the best talent being at Yale. You're playing all those Ivy League guys. His last 2 years, though, starting, he was first team all Ivy League, and then he missed a few games last year, unfortunately, due to a quad injury, but he should be back ready to go. Let's see. So it says he needs to work on his hand usage a little bit. His ability to keep rushers at the end of his length could become a big advantage. That's huge. He's explosive, like I said. He's athletic, so he has that ability to be a great run blocker. Good size, athleticism, and length. And, he's just a guy that you can rely on and plug in almost wherever you need him. I feel like he has some pretty good versatility. But for this right here, we'll put him at right tackle. So yeah, my guy, Kieran Amagadije. It's going to be interesting to see how he transitions from an Ivy League to the NFL. But, I'm willing to bet that he can transition pretty well.
Yeah, he's a player that in all my mock drafts, he's my second round pick. And I let him learn behind Trent Williams, and I bet on the size and traits to take over next year at left tackle when Trent Williams possibly retires. He also is on my offense. But I did add another tackle on mine because I thought you might take my guy. So I have a backup plan. All right. My next guy, my other corner is going to be Dwight McGlothern from Arkansas. And he is a bigger corner. He is 6'2, 185. He ran a 4.47 with a 1.5 10-yard split at the combine. So good speed for a taller corner. And he was an LSU corner his first 2 years. He actually started 6 games his second year there, had 5 PBUs and a pick 6. But then he transferred to Arkansas, and he was second team all SEC in 2022 with 4 interceptions, 10 PBUs. And then this past year, he had 3 interceptions, and he had 6 PBUs. And he started 6 games, played in 9 this past year, but he missed some time with the concussion and turf toe. So another guy, great 2022, dealt with some injuries this past year, so he's probably going to go 6th, 7th round. But you know those LSU corners always end up being good in the NFL. This dude, obviously ball hawk based on those numbers he put up. And another guy that's really sticky in coverage. On NFL.com, they say he's probably his best in zone coverage, but he can play and handle man coverage. But the dude, really sticky, 8 career interceptions. He's tall. You know, 2 very underrated corners in this class, but 2 that I think could end up starting for teams in the NFL.
Yeah, definitely. So going on to my guards, this is where my team's going to dominate in the run. My first guard that I'm going to take is Cooper Beebe, out of Kansas State. You know, this guy is a mauler, kind of like a Quentin Nelson type player. Only problem is he has really short arms, but super athletic. You know, he's 6'3", 322, ran a 5.03 second 40-yard dash, which is great. He only had 20 bench press reps, which is kind of concerning, but like I said, he plays strong. You know, he's one of those guys, he throws linebackers, he throws anybody in front of him. It's just that he has pretty small arms. They're projecting him. That's where we could probably see him go. Let's see here. You know, like they say, Beebe is still a bulldozer in cleats who jolts smaller players and move big ones against their will. So that's huge. You know, obviously he's only going to be able to play interior line because of his arm length is extremely short. But get him inside, and he's going to throw you around. He's going to dominate the interior. That little short guy you got, Mekhi Wingo, tossing him out the bar. He's tossed out the club by Cooper Beebe. So that's
If he could get his hands on him, that's all I'll say.
But yeah, that's my guard.
Really like him as well. My next guy, so this guy is going to be my slot corner. I'm getting rid of one of my safety spots. So it's Jarvis Brownlee Jr. I do not have, so I'm going to put him here, but he's a slot corner. I do not have his combine numbers. I don't know if he wasn't at the combine, but he is 5'10", 194. So he's a slot, you know, smaller size. He was a Florida State corner for 3 years before transferring to Louisville. And he just put up good numbers these past 2 years at Louisville. 12 PBUs in 2022, 2 interceptions, 6 PBUs, 1 interception this past year. But where he really shined was at the Senior Bowl. This dude was locking up everybody at the Senior Bowl. Just go look up Jarvis Brownlee Jr. at the Senior Bowl, and this dude was sticky, covering everybody at the Senior Bowl. So that's what I liked about him the most. He was very aggressive on his actual tape playing outside corner, but I think that's why he can move into the slot because he's scrappy, feisty, he's going to fight with those little dudes in there. And I think this dude could be a really good slot. He gets his hands on a lot of passes, and he even had an interception at the Senior Bowl. So this dude is going to be my slot, but he's over here at safety because I'm replacing a safety with the slot.
Yeah, definitely. Going on to my next guard is going to be Christian Haynes out of UConn. Another great guy. This draft analyst says he can grow into an all-league guard with his burst, power, and finisher mentality. Projected to be a first, instant starter, instant impact type of guy. He was in the Senior Bowl, dominating people out there. So that's what you love to see. The Niners love Senior Bowl players as well. Let's see. Let's get a little breakdown of them. This thing. So he ran. Well, let's get some measurables. 6'3", 317, so good size. Another athletic guy ran a 5.03 40-yard dash, which is great. Love to see it. 25 bench press reps. Once again, that goes to show Tip Raymond's strength, getting 28. He started the past 4 seasons at right guard. Third team All-American the past 2 seasons as well at guard. All-American, like college football All-American, not just in the conference. Like I said, 4-year starter, team captain, plays with football intelligence and sees every snap as a mandate to move opponents and finish blocks. That's what I love to see. That's what you love from your guards, those mauler type of guys. And then another guy who has lack of length, so he's going to have to play interior O-line. But yeah, extremely experienced guy, has a lot of starting experience, 4 years, and is going to dominate you in the run game. He's going to move you. The pass blocking is going to be interesting to see, being that he's shorter as well. But, that's something. Hopefully you can have him kind of sit back behind Jonathan Feliciano, or, we still have Banks for this year. So it's not like he has to come in and start right away, even though I think he can. But if you really wanted to, coach him up a little bit on the pass blocking, you could allow that to happen this year. So that's going to be my second guard.
Yeah, another really good player. I like him a lot as well. All right, I'll go with my safety on this team. Spoke about him on our last video, Trey Taylor, safety from Air Force. And Air Force, me and Alex talked about this, I think, the other day. They're putting out some players this year, this dude, and I believe, is it the edge rusher? Yeah, 2 really good players that are going to probably be drafted this year. So Trey Taylor, his RAS was a 9.33, 6 foot, 213 pounds, 22 bench reps. Kind of slow 40, 4.59, but we've seen safeties like Talanoa Hufanga, who he ran in, I believe, the 4.6s. But playing safety, it's more about your instincts. His shuttle and 3-cone, though, were elite. 4.13 shuttle and 6.9 3-cone. And this dude, you put on the tape, this dude is great coming downhill in run support. He's good in coverage, even though he didn't have to play in coverage much. And like I said in our last video, he won the Jim Thorpe Award for the best DB in college football out of Air Force and out of all the players at the draft that are going to be drafted in the first through whatever rounds. This dude's going to go late, but really good player. I would love the 49ers to get him as a late round pick.
Yeah, definitely. It's extremely cool to see one of the military academies pushing out NFL draft prospects. You don't see it. Usually it's only like one guy, but this one, there's like 2 or 3 guys that could go. So pretty exciting. To finish out my offense, this is going to be my first round player. And my favorite player in the whole draft is going to be, who are you writing already? JPJ, Jackson Powers Johnson out of Oregon, the center.
I
This
gotta
dude
put
is such
JPJ.
this dude is such a beast, man. He reminds me of Quentin Nelson coming out of Notre Dame a few years ago. Just an all-around great player. He won the best offensive lineman in college football last year. Just a beast, man. Just an absolute throw on the film, and he has highlights as a center. You know, you don't see that a lot. So he's 6'3", 328, 30 bench press reps. So his first year played in 11 games with 3 starts, 1 at right guard, left guard, and defensive tackle. If that's what I'm
Yeah, he
seeing
did.
correctly. That's pretty crazy. So we moved from O-line to D-line for the Alamo Bowl versus Oklahoma in 2021. 2022 played in 12 games with 1 start at right guard, and then last year he was the nation's top center, first team Associated Press All-American, first team All Pac-12, started 13 games at center, and then the team was a Joe Moore Award finalist for the nation's top O-lineman. The thing with Jackson Powers Johnson, you know, doesn't have much versatility. You're gonna draft him to play center pretty much. But that could be good for the Niners because you don't draft centers early, usually, at least in the first round. Unfortunately, though, I think he is going to get drafted probably by the Lions. I don't think he's going to slip past them. But yeah, just his physicality. You see him, he almost reminds me of like a Jason Kelce type guy. You know, a center that can pull. He moves extremely well in the run game. He can throw people. He's a good pass blocker. You know, he needs a little bit more experience, obviously, starting. Like I said, he really only started this last year fully. But just this guy, just look him up. Go to YouTube, look up some highlights, and he's going to be throwing people out of the club. So Jackson Powers Johnson, he's my favorite player in all of the draft, and it would be a dream if the Niners could get him, but I don't see it very likely.
Yeah, I agree. He's probably my number 1 player at our pick because I don't think, you know, the other players I like more will be around at that pick. And the dude probably is the biggest center in the NFL because this dude weighs almost 340 pounds, but he moves like the 300-pound centers. It's nuts. Yep, love that dude as well. And now I'll do my first round player. And this player has grown on me through the draft process. Croc talks about him a lot, but it's Cooper DeJean, the corner out of Iowa. But for my team, he's playing the star position as, you know, kind of a hybrid safety, but can come down and play, you know, man up on a receiver if he has to. Just the dude is so athletic. The dude makes huge plays. You know, he could probably play outside corner in the NFL, but I think as like a hybrid player, you just unlock probably an all-pro level of player with Cooper DeJean. And who knows where this dude gets drafted, you know? He could go as high as 10. He could fall all the way to us at 31. I have no clue. Especially, you know, due to the injury he suffered this season. I did not look him up, but he didn't do anything at the combine or anything. He was recovering from his I believe he broke his fibula during the year. But let's see if he has any numbers.
And he has good return ability as well. And obviously that's
Yeah.
something that the Niners need. Obviously we signed Trent Taylor, but you know, who really knows about that? So if you could get a guy that can give you some impact on defense, but then also special teams in his first year, that'd be huge.
Yeah. 6'1.5", 203 pounds. And if you look at the film, he looks fast and explosive. So I assume he would have ran really fast. But 2022, the dude had tied for the FBS lead with 3 pick sixes with Emmanuel Forbes, who went, I believe, pick 16 or 17 last year in the draft. He was the Music City Bowl MVP with 7 tackles, interception for a touchdown, and 3 punt returns for 42 yards. 5 interceptions that year, 8 PBUs. And then in 2023, he was a Associated Press All-American First Team, Big Ten Defensive Back of the Year, Return Specialist of the Year, finalist for the Jim Thorpe Award, which went to my other guy, Trey Taylor. He started 10 games, 2 interceptions, 5 PBUs, and then obviously missed the rest of the year with a broken fibula. But this dude, I really do think he has all pro ability. It just depends on his health and, where they have him play. So that's my last player. And I think we got 2 really good teams. This team as a complete team would be a pretty solid team on both sides of the ball. I think yours probably takes it because you got some more high-end players in me. But I like the matchup. Your offensive line definitely probably mauls my defensive line. But if you drop back to pass, you're throwing some interceptions, buddy.
Yeah, definitely. It'd be an interesting matchup for sure. Going down now, so I'm going to be picking my defense, and Joseph's going to be picking his offense. I didn't do too much research into defense, so I only have like 2 or 3 players, but Joseph's going to give you his full offense. So
Yes.
I'll start with my defensive guy. My first defensive guy that I'm going to go with is going to be that guy that can play safety, can play corner. It's going to be Javon Bullard out of Georgia. I watched his film, and I was very impressed. He has pretty sticky coverage, And I think he played safety last year, but he also has played corner, like slot cornerish as well. Obviously playing in the best conference in the all of college football. He ran a 4.47 40. He's 5'10 and a half, 198. Looking at the NFL.com score breakdown, his production score ranked first, his athleticism score for safeties ranked fourth, and his total score ranked first. They're projecting him in the 2nd to 3rd round. So 2021, he played in 14 games as a reserve. That was the year that Georgia won the national championship. 2022, he had 2 interceptions against TCU in the national championship game. He played in 15 games total with 10 starts. He had 46 tackles, 7 TFLs, and 3.5 sacks, 2 picks, 3 PBUs. So filled up the stat sheet for sure. And then last year he started 12 games, 56 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, 2 picks, 5 PBUs. And then he missed 2 games with an ankle injury midseason. So yeah, like I said, he can play either safety, he can play nickel. Ideally, I'd probably draft him to play nickel for us because obviously we're going to be needing a nickel. But sticky coverage, has played against some of the best teams in college football, NFL talent. And I think probably his biggest weakness is he could use a little bit more aggressiveness when it comes to tackling. He's not really searching for contact. He can make a tackle, but he's not searching for contact. So I think that's his biggest area of improvement for him.
I like it. My first guy, I'll go with my quarterback. Went with a late round guy. It's going to be Austin Reed from Western Kentucky. So if you go and watch Alex's guy, Malachi Corley, all of the throws thrown to him were by this guy. So the dude's a gunslinger. He's not very fast, 4'8", 240. But in that Western Kentucky offense, they sling the ball. Who is it? That guy on the Patriots had like crazy amount of yards that one year. This dude had a crazy amount of yards one year. But yeah, dude's a gunslinger. Wasn't on a very good team, but you go watch Malachi Corley's highlights and you see this dude, he puts the ball where it needs to go. Um, not much to say about him. I really don't like many of the quarterbacks in this class besides the few top ones, but pretty accurate. He's a gunslinger, makes a lot of mistakes because he's a gunslinger, kind of like Brock Purdy did in college, but he can put the ball on the spot, and he played in a similar offense to what Brock Purdy does, so that's why I picked him. I'll go ahead and give my running back as well since you don't have many people. My running back is Tyrone Tracy Jr., who our dad spoke about on our last pod. This dude was a full-time wide receiver at Iowa, and then he transferred to Purdue and became a running back in, I believe it was his last year. He's 5'11", 209 pounds. He ran a 4.48 40 at the combine, so good number for a running back. But yeah, so he was a 4-year Iowa wide receiver. Didn't ever really put up good numbers, but as you know, Iowa, they don't throw the ball much. But the dude was a legit receiver. Then he goes on to play running back for 1 year, and he was a third-team All Big Ten Conference return specialist. So he gives you that return ability as well. But he rushed for 700 yards, 6.3 yards per average rushing. And then he also caught 19 passes for 132 yards. He had 16 kickoff returns for 408 yards, 25.5 yard average, and a kick return TD. So the dude's just versatile. He's one of those weapons that we love in the Kyle Shanahan offense. And you could legit move him out to receiver and he's going to be just fine. He kind of does what Debo did when Debo was most valuable to us. Obviously not at that level, but I just like that versatility with him.
Yeah, definitely. That's another guy that you've been huge on too. So my next guy, I guess this will be my first round pick, maybe fringe guy. D tackle Johnny Newton. I know that's another guy that you've been big on too. And it's funny because I'm looking right now at his NFL.com profile, and his NFL comparison is Javon Hargrave, obviously, who the Niners are extremely familiar with. So Johnny Newton, 6'2", 304. Didn't do much testing at the combine. So, but looking at his last year and all the accolades that he got, he was a first-team AP All-American, Big Ten Conference Defensive Player of the Year, first-team All-Big Ten, finalist for the Nagurski Trophy, which is the nation's top defender. He led the team with 7.5 sacks. This is a huge thing, too, that will go under the radar with him, but is huge. He led the FBS with the school record 4 blocked kicks. He played in 12 games with 11 starts, 52 tackles, 8.5 TFLs, 2 PBUs, a forced fumble, and then obviously to go along with the 7.5 sacks. So extremely productive, very, very, very decorated player throughout college football last year. His overview right here: active interior defender with the potential to build on his disruptive production in college. His length and size don't stand out, but he has a constant ability to gain extension and set edges against bigger opponents. So yeah, that's one of those guys that can give you that pass rush ability from the interior, probably play a little bit outside as well. But yeah, Johnny Newton, that's somebody to keep your eye on. Somebody who the Niners could probably draft. He'll be somewhere around that range, maybe at pick 31. So we'll see, though. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah, and there's a debate if he's the number 1 or number 2 D tackle in the class with Byron Murphy. But he's a guy, if he did athletic testing, he could also go anywhere from pick 10 to in the 30s. So wide range. I would be happy with him at our pick if all the other players we want are gone. I wouldn't mind him at our pick. Um, the dude is athletic enough that he played edge a little bit and was beating tackles around the corner as a D tackle. So, yeah, really good dude. Um, Definitely a person I think we might be drafting today if he does not go before our pick. Um, my next guy, I'll go ahead and go with my tight end. It's Ben Sinnott, who I talked about. This is a dude that I think is a tight end, but I also think he could legit play the 49ers Kyle Juszczyk role. When I watch the film, he just really reminds me of Kyle Juszczyk for some reason. And really good player. He's 6'4", 250. Pretty long arms for a tight end at 32 and 3/8 inches. He ran a 4.68. So, not many fast tight ends in this draft, like the guy you said either. 159, 10-yard split. He had a 40-inch vert, though. Explosive as hell and a 10.6 broad. And the dude he does everything. He can catch the ball. He can run routes. He can get dirty. He's probably one of the best run blockers at tight end in this class. And he also can play that like fullback move. They can motion him. He does a lot of those motions and then he kicks out a D end. But this past year, he was third team All American and he was first team All Big 12 conference for fullback because of his blocking ability. He had 676 yards, 49 receptions, 6 receiving TDs. And like I said, he's just a guy that could do it all. You turn on the film, you see him do everything. Perfect number 2 tight end for the 49ers.
Yeah, definitely. That's one thing at least that's good for the Niners is the tight ends aren't as strong this year, but they are going. There's traits and stuff that you can see from the later tight ends in the mid to late rounds, which is good to see. So my last player that I'll touch on for the defense, I talked about him a couple pods ago as well, is going to be corner Jarrian Jones out of Florida State. This dude's extremely athletic, probably another guy that you want to play in the slot mainly. He has some size on him though, 6 foot, 190. Ran a 4.38 40-yard dash, so extremely fast guy. He was all honorable mention, all ACC last year, played in 12 games with 9 starts, 25 tackles, 5 TFLs, 3 picks, 1 return for a touchdown, 3 PBUs, and a forced fumble. Projecting him in the round 5. Overview is urgent corner with good size and above average aggression in all aspects of his game. While Jones is all gas from snap to whistle, he can be clunky, matching receivers' release, and has a hard time transitioning through sharp break points without allowing glaring separation. Looking at his RAS score, his relative athletic score, he has a 9.61 RAS, which is great. Like I said, he has that 4.38 40, 2.53 20-yard split, and 1.53 10-yard split. He had extremely good vert and broad jump. Looking at this other stat as well, which is the IGA score, which is in-game athleticism score. He had a 90.6 IGA score, which puts him at the 5th corner out of all the college football draft prospects, corner-wise. So extremely athletic guy, can use his speed to catch up, can close in space really fast. That's what you need from your slot players. So that's going to be my last defensive guy, Jarrian Jones, who's probably going to be a pick as well. So
a what?
Day 3 pick.
Oh, okay. I like it. Yeah, like I mentioned on our last pod, anybody in that Florida State defense probably going to be a good player in the NFL. This is a really good defense. All right, I'll go ahead and give you guys all of my receivers at once so we could get through this. Tajuan Palmer is one of my outside receivers. He is 6'1", 210, and his RAS was a 9.57. He's from Alabama Birmingham University, so small school guy. He ran a 4.45 40, a 1.54 10-yard split, and the dude just he looks so fast when he's running his routes. Like you see no loss of speed at all when he's running his route. He has good yak ability. And this is a dude that I think is going to be a better pro than he was in college. Um, who's the guy that does all the breakdowns? Bucky, what's his name? Bucky, what?
Bucky Brooks.
Yeah, Bucky Brooks did a breakdown of him. So I recommend you guys go watch that. And you could just see the suddenness that this guy plays with. I do not have, let me see if I can find the stats real quick. Tajuan Palmer. But this dude, you just got to watch him play. You can tell this dude's going to be a really good pro. Really one of the most underrated receivers in this class. And as you know, almost any receiver you get in this class is probably going to be good. There's tons of them. But let's see, this past year, 47 receptions for 858 yards, 18-yard average, 7 touchdowns. But the film speaks more than the stats because he played on UAB. I don't even know who the quarterback was. It's my first receiver. Keep your eye out for him in this class. All right, my next guy is going to be my other outside wide receiver, and it's going to be Johnny Wilson. Obviously, tallest wide receiver in this class. And I believe he might be one of the tallest receivers ever. 6'6, 231 pounds, 35 and 3/8 inch arms, and 10-inch hands. So the dude is massive. And when they're that big, you think they're slow. He ran a 4.52 40 at that size. So good speed, 1.55 10-yard split. This dude, and he also had a 37-inch vert. So that's a good vert for a guy that's tall as well. This dude started at Arizona State, then he went to Florida State. His best year was in 2022, 897 yards, 5 touchdowns. Obviously, this past year they had Keon Coleman as well, who took some of that production. But this dude, he runs good routes for a big guy, and he doesn't really play like a big receiver. So I feel like he could grow into that and become more of a jump ball guy as well. But I think playing, as a good route runner and stuff will help him in the NFL and let him grow on top of that. So that's my outside receiver. And then inside receiver is a guy that has been growing on me for our pick 31. Xavier Worthy from Texas. Um, you know, when you think of speed guys, obviously he has the fastest 40 in the combine, and most fast guys do not succeed in the NFL. But you watch this dude run routes, and this dude is a great route runner. I have a clip saved that I'll play at the end, but this dude runs amazing routes for the size. And, he could do those gadget end arounds as well. Obviously, he has that crazy speed where he's going to beat people in route, and very much growing on me at pick 31. If none of the dudes we want are there, I would be fine taking him at pick 31. How do you feel about him?
Yeah, I agree. Same thing. Who knows what's going to go on with Brandon Ayuk, obviously, with everything that's going on with his extension or trade. But yeah, extremely fast dude that actually wins with his routes as well, not just his speed. That was another thing I was going to ask you. I just saw Matt Mayoka post a thing, I guess, from an NFL executive or source saying that it could be pretty likely that the Niners are going to draft a wide receiver at pick 31. And the wide receiver that executive suggested was Ladd McConkey. How would you feel about the Niners drafting Ladd McConkey at 31?
Yeah, so if you remember in our other video, Ladd McConkey was one of my guys. So I would be fine with Ladd McConkey or Xavier Worthy. I feel like Ladd McConkey is probably the best route runner in the class, but then with Xavier Worthy, you get that elite speed. So you gotta pick your poison. Um, I don't know. It'd be tough. I don't know who I'd pick, but I feel like Ladd McConkey is kind of Brock Purdy's best friend because this dude's gonna be open all the time, accurate over the middle, get him the ball. You know what I mean?
So would you be okay with that even if we kept Ayuk?
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
be. Because at times last year, best on best, Ayuk was locked down. Debo doesn't get open when he's
Yeah.
running routes. You have a dude like that could get open almost immediately, anytime, anywhere. That's Brock Purdy's best friend.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm just going to add all of my O linemen in here. And then maybe you could speak on some of them as well, since I know you've done a lot of work on O line. Dominic Puny? Anything about him?
Little bit. Let me see.
Or
quick.
Tanner Bortolini?
Let me see. Hold on. Like we said, that's one thing that's been huge for the Niners, obviously, is the O-line is like historically deep. So Dominic Puny, is a guy, seems like he has a lot of versatility. At the Senior Bowl, they had him taking center snaps, which is pretty crazy. But he also played left tackle as well last year. So this dude has dang near 5-spot versatility, which you love to see, especially from your offensive lineman. That's what the teams need. That's something we need. And yeah, Dominic Puny is one of those guys that dominates. He's played against some pretty good talent as well. He played against Johnny Newton last year. So that's another game you can go and watch some film. What do you think about him? What are your thoughts about Puny?
Yeah, so he's 6'5", 313, 33 and 3/8 inch arm, so right under the threshold for tackle. But like you said, 5-position versatility. He ran a 5.34 40, which is very slow, but the dude was locking people down at guard and center at the Senior Bowl. And for an interior guy, I'm fine with that. The dude will be a really good interior offensive lineman, and that 5-position versatility is great because in a pinch, he could play outside, he could play literally anywhere. And I think he's going to be a really good guard or center. But I like him on this roster for the versatility. My guy, Tanner Bortolini at center. He was the most athletic center, I think possibly offensive lineman out of all of them, but I know center for sure at the combine. 6'4", 303 pounds, very short arms, 31.5 inches. That's why he's a center only. Yeah, athleticism score, he was the first at the combine. 4'9", 440, 169, 10-yard split. He also was crazy in his 3-cone, 7.16, and his 20-yard shuttle, 4.28, which is insane. 21 bench reps, which is whatever. But this dude on film, he's a great pass protector. He needs to work on his run blocking, but around Brock Purdy, man, I just want you to be able to protect him for so he could throw the ball, because we saw what the dude did last year with people breathing down his neck all game. So I just want pass blockers, man. And Bortolini is one of the best pass blocking centers in this class. And then
Yeah, definitely.
I'll
I
let
know
you
these
take
next
my
2 are your guys. I know these next 2 are your guys, Fontenot and, Michael Jarrell as well, because this is the guy that you said could be this year's, Poe, right?
Yeah, so Michael Jarrell, D2 player. He won the award for the best Division two offensive lineman this past year. He has a 9.29 RAS. He played right tackle in college, but he's going to play guard in the NFL. 33 and 8-inch arm, so he's barely under the arm length for tackle. He's 6'4", 309 pounds, 26 bench reps, 4'9", 440 at that size, which is insane. Um, and a 169 10-yard split. But this dude, you put on the film, and he's just toying with people at the D2 level, like tossing them, pancaking everybody, like it's insane. There's no competition. And then Emery Hunt was watching him at some of the All-Star games, and he said he was dominating even FCS and FBS level people. So definitely a sleeper, someone to keep your eye on. I really do think he could be the Jason Poe of this year's class. If you look him up on YouTube, you could find a highlight tape video of him just toying with people. And then obviously Troy Fontenot, we all have talked about him a ton. This dude went from being like a borderline first round pick to now he might go 10th overall. Dude is super athletic. He's short, but he has crazy long arms and he's super athletic. I believe he's a perfect right tackle for any team. Um, I would love to have him on the 49ers to be our right tackle, but dude's going top 10. Well, maybe top 15, but love him. Probably one of my favorite tackles in the class, him and the guy from Oregon State, Fuaga. Love both of them. But yeah, those are our teams.
Yep.
So how do you feel about them?
Yeah, I mean, the great, like, these are all guys too that are more or less underrated guys. Like we said, we only have one first rounder or like a couple fringe guys, first, second round guys. So these are guys that are kind of flying under the radar. Obviously, if we were going off first rounders or just top talent in general, it'd be a lot different. But yeah, I think these are a lot of guys that you should be keeping your eye out for, guys that can make impacts, in their rookie year or a couple years down the road. Um, you know, I'm excited for the draft. This will be the first time that I've been able to watch the draft in like 5 years at a regular time and not having to wake up at like 2 or 3 in the morning. So that'll be cool. Um, I believe Joseph and I are going to be going live probably a couple picks before the Niners get up there. So tune in to that. Come chat with us. Let us know who you guys want us to draft, what you guys are thinking of the picks for these other teams. Should be pretty fun. Like I said, this is one of our favorite times of the NFL season, especially in the off season. So tune in.
Yeah, so my last question for you before we get off. At pick 31, right? All of our favorite tackles, all of our favorite O linemen are gone, right? You have Cooper DeJean, you have Johnny Newton, and you have Xavier Worthy and Lad McConkey. Who do you take?
Do we still have Ayuk at this point, or
Yeah,
is he
Ayuk is
gone?
no, Ayuk's not gone.
I'm probably going Cooper DeJean, just because you're gonna need cornerbacks next year, and Cooper DeJean, like I said, just off his return ability, he's gonna provide an instant impact there. But corner in general, I mean, I think he could beat out the guy we got from the Saints, Yatum. That's probably who's going to be leading the charge for that like third corner spot. So if Cooper DeJean could take that outside corner, or even if he bumped inside, the slot to let Demo play outside, I think that would unlock the defense greatly, in my opinion. I think that would provide the most impact out of all those other guys.
Yeah, I agree. It's gonna be interesting, man. We'll see. We'll see who's still around at our pick, or if we move up, move down. We'll see. It's gonna be
Yeah,
fun.
definitely. Who knows? Might trade up for a Fontenot.
Highly doubt it, unless Brandon Ayuk is gone. So
Well, let's be realistic here. We know that pick 31 is going to be Roger Rosengarten, so just be ready for that.
yep, another start to the draft. Like I just hope it's not like last year, man. We knew that draft was terrible. Like every pick, we're like, oh God, damn. Like you
last
knew it
last
before
year
it even happened.
last year was the worst though, because that's when that was just Cam Latu, Moody, like oh my god. But yeah,
Yeah, man.
so come chat with us. A few picks before the Niners are up. We'll be going live talking about what's going on and everything and how we're feeling. So tune in for that.
Yep, we'll see you guys then.
Peace.
Peace.